What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions.
I left alone. My mind was blank. I needed time to think, to get the memories from my mind. What did I see? Can I believe that what I saw that night was real and not just fantasy? Just what I saw in my old dreams were the reflections of my Walkman staring back at me. 'Cause in my dreams, it's always there, the evil face that twists my mind and brings me to despair.
And a grand welcome to all fellow decoders out there, wherever you are. My name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality. And today we're going to be breaking down and decoding part 3 of The Architect of the Universe. This is becoming a series now. And I have part 4 already kind of built, so this one will lead into Architect of the Universe part 4. But this one, folks, is going to blow your mind. So as I say, get strapped in, put a pair of headphones on, block some time off. This is going to be a lengthy presentation. And I'm going to leave the timestamps of all the categories in the description below in case you want to fast forward to different sections. But as I said, the time you spend on this decode will be well worth the time you spend on this decode, folks. This one is going to completely floor you beyond any of the other videos I've done. This one is completely amazing. So here we go, folks. Here are the topics of conversation during this presentation. In the zero position, of course, the intro, which is what I'm doing now. Number 1, we're going to be talking about nature's Trinity. Number 2, we're going to get into the lion. Number 3, we're going to be breaking down Sol and Luna. 2 words describing the sun and moon. Number 4, the Sun Devil. Number 5, the song by the Beatles, their most popular song, according to what I've read, Here Comes the Sun. It's a lot of sun in this one, folks. Number 6, Theology's Sun. Number 7, Antiquity's Sun. Number 8, the Boss's Boss. And of course, number 9, what did you see during this presentation? So that's what we got, folks. Let's get started on the first topic of nature's Trinity. And this is the graphic that I had shown on my live podcast. What's your question number 10? I did a little sneak peek on this for those of you that got to see it just a few days ago. And just using the simple dial pad on your phone or calculator, we're able to see how this world works through the architect and our as above and so below. By just using the numbers on the calculator and dial pad, of course, this is completely connected to the Kabbalah system because the tree of life is in here, of course. And I want to just digress and say this to all of you, just so we're crystal clear on this. I am using this photograph to represent Earth, but I want to make it very crystal clear. I am not in any way insinuating that the Earth is flat. I don't get into the flat Earth, the round Earth, the concave. Not interested in that because there is way too much controversy with it. I do believe, however, that we live under some kind of dome, and I believe the Earth's underwater, but that's for a different story. I want to get that out in the open so none of you start saying anything and trying to put words in my mouth, because it happens. So I want to be crystal clear on that. So I want you to notice that we've broken it off into 3 sections. On the left, we have the sun, which I feel is masculine dominant. It's going to be both. And it would be the numbers 7, 4, and 1. And all the way to the far right, you would have the moon, which does not give off its own light. It is a receiver of light. The sun provides that. And it would be feminine because the sun gives to the female. So it's feminine dominant. And the numbers would be 9, 6, and 3. I feel that the moon would be love and the sun would be fear, because our sun sign, wherever that's at, is where your ego is going to be, besides the rising sign. And there will be some fear in there. And then, of course, the very dead center, making up Earth, the middle pillar on your dial pad or calculator, is the numbers 8, 5, 2, and of course 0, because 0 is the representation of pi and our emotional expressions that we make up. And it would be androgynous. It would be androgynous. It would be base or neutral. And of course, making up that 852, we're going to get into those numbers. That's 15, and we're going to get into that. But these are what I feel to be the representations of the sun, earth, and the moon, the nature's trinity. And when you bring the cards, the tarot cards, into all of this, it provides a bigger clue, a bigger expression, a more clear and concise expression on the world stage of what this means. And notice, starting off in the sun position, you have the hangman. It's card number 12. But you know what I find very interesting about this card is there's the sun behind the figure that is hung upside down. And of course, it's card number 12, linked to Pisces and the fish. And the fish are Jesus and Lucifer, Jesus and Thomas, yin yang, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to get into that during this presentation. I'm going to support everything I'm saying, by the way. As you know, I'm big into graphics and using multiple layers to support my opinion, because opinions to me, without any kind of support, are weak and watered down. And it's easy to regurgitate stuff, but to support it, completely different story. So we're going to be synchronizing many, many layers during this presentation. And this is one example with the masculine dominant sun and the hangman. And I believe that this is a representation, of course, because if you follow Manly P. Hall's work in The Secret Teachings of All Ages, he clearly said that Lucifer's numbers are 7, 4, and 1. Clearly said that in his book. Now, does that mean he's right? That's his opinion, but I'm going to support that during this presentation. So yes, Lucifer is the sun, yet so is Jesus. Somehow, some way, the moon fits in here with the Christ as well. I have a feeling that Lucifer and Jesus are both the sun and the moon, the Ark of the Covenant. But nonetheless, there it is, the hangman. And clearly you can see the sun behind the head of this figure hung upside down. This is a representation of all of us coming through the 12 zodiac signs, coming down through number 13, getting a spiritual death into the physical world called Wonderland. And it is done by way of the feminine, because the female gives birth. And I came out with this in my Angel Falls. I have a slide coming up in this presentation to further what I'm saying. But the sun, of course, is the evaporator. And the water cycle is really where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. The sun, if you go out in the summertime, it will make you sweat. We are made up of water. It is an evaporator. It does give life, but it's a life taker. And it will give to the moon. The moon, of course, is known as the the one to control the tides. It has everything to do with water. Feminine is emotions, empathic. And, this is the moon card representing that. The crab being there, of course. And, in astrology, the fourth house is Cancer, and the lord of that is the moon. So this is very fitting right here. And then in the middle, in the very dead center, of course, is the devil card. And of course, how do we get the devil card? 8 plus 5 plus 2 is 15, and the devil card is the 15th card in the deck. How about that? And that's how I know this is how it works. And I say androgynous because there's the male, female, and we have both of those inside of us. You're going to be a masculine dominant like myself. I'm male dominant, but I have feminine traits. And if you're female, you're going to have some masculine traits. And this is all a representation of us being owned and operated by the devil down here on planet Earth. And, again, digressing, 9 plus 6 plus 3 is 18. And this is the 18th card. I mean, you can't miss these syncs when you look at it using pure math and then the order of the cards. Clearly you can see what I'm showing. So let's get into some more extensions of the cards of illumination and the syncs with those. Starting on the sun side, the 12th card, matching the 7 plus 4 plus 1, is the Queen Hearts card, card number 12. And it's interesting because in the story of Alice in Wonderland, the queen, the wicked queen, was the Queen of Hearts. And it ruled Wonderland. Now, the 18th card, of course, is the 5 clubs, 5 of wands, which is one of the Christ cards. Jesus equals 18 in numerology through the Chaldean. And there's the 2 clubs card, and this one is the representation of Earth. This one, of course, is when we go into the tarot. I don't have the guy in the tarot. This is the 2 of wands, but that one means launching long-term plans and the world in the palm of your hands. But when you take all of this information, when you add up all these numbers right here, 7 plus 4, all of them, because it's all 1 through 9. When you add up the numbers 1 through 9, giving you the expressions of the sun, the moon, and earth, you're going to get the number 45. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way to the number 9 equals the number 45, which is where the story of Pandora's box comes into play. And the rhodium, and this is the rhodium rosy cross tied to the 17th century Rosicrucians. And it fits in their secret society pieces. No more secrets anymore, but there it is, the RH, and then you can get in the RH blood factors and whatnot. But the 45 is a representation of the father and son. Father and son is the 45, and 4 plus 5 is 9. Of course, it's a repeater. Pandora's box. We're living out Pandora's box in this layer of earth being androgynous and being the base, our home camp, the foundation. So I want to get into some math now. Again, if you're not a fan of math and you want to skip this part, look down in the description and look at the timestamps, and I'm going to link them in the category selected pieces so you can just fast forward. But if you're a math junkie like myself, if you love numbers, this one's really going to fit into your mindset. So when we take the simple aspects of math, starting with the sun, 741, and adding the moon. This is the Ark of the Covenant, by the way. The sun and the moon are the Ark of the Covenant. It's potassium and argon. That spells out the word ark. But when you add them up using the trusty calculator, you get the number 1704 going right back to the sun. Because again, the sun has to give its light to the moon, and the moon receives that. So it always is going to go back to the boss, which is the sun. The boss is the sun, which is going to be the Yod He Vav He, Yaldabaoth, Lucifer, and Jesus anyway. All those, Krishna and all that, and they all fit into it. All of them fit into the masculine sun side. There it is, the 174. Going further, when we take that 1704 total of the sun and moon, adding up its numbers, and we divide that by the 852 that we get from the androgynous Earth's numbers, we get the number 2, which of course is the number of duality, which is male-female, androgynous. There it is, the number 2. I'm going to show that again, so stick with me. When we subtract the numbers 1704 that we got from the sun and the moon, and we subtract the 852, we get 852, going right back to the base called Earth and the landing spot that we all come into through the reincarnation process. When you add up the 147 and 369, we get the number 516. Just exchanging the numbers, instead of 741, we do 147, we reverse it. The same with the 369 instead of the 963. You're going to get the number 516, and of course, when you divide it, that's a no-brainer, by 258, you're going to get, again, the number 2, which stands for duality. And then if you subtract it, you're going to get 258, which lands right back to the androgynous Earth once again. Now, if we take the simple pH scale, which has everything to do with our lives, because your blood has a pH balance to it, your saliva, your urine, your body's fluid is all designed and wrapped around acid, neutral, and alkaline, because we are a battery. That's what batteries are measured in: acidic, neutral, alkaline. And when you do the numerology of those words through the English, it comes out to the number 173, and most of you should know what that is. That's an Enneagram for the number 137, which is all about the fine structure constant and the angle of light. And there it is, the tie-in. When you do it through the Chaldean, it becomes the number 56. We bring in the element barium into this to give us the clue, the bridge, and we get the number 137. There it is. The average weight of barium is 137, and it's a match of the 173. That's why the English and the Chaldean are completely in bed together. Chaldean, to me, is the top numerology cipher out there, and then English would be the second best one to start using if you're new at decoding. Chaldean number 1, English number 2. You don't need to use any of the other ones. That's more for advanced. You can find everything in 1 or 2 ciphers. So when we break it down even further, the sun and the moon are the two they make up the Ark of the Covenant over the earth. However it works. Again, I'm not getting into how this planet is, flat, round, concave, doesn't matter. Not interested. Sun and moon exist, earth exists. That's all we need to know. Sun and moon is the 37. I've just duplicated on each side, and then earth is 17. The word life equals 17, which is a direct match. When we subtract 37 from 17, we get the number 20, which of course is duality. And that's what we're all playing out here in the androgynous expression of earth. And of course, it's neutral when we come out, but then we have duality playing out throughout our entire lives and our scripted lives as we move from birth to death. Androgynous, the word itself is the number 44, which is a direct match of the words gold currency. And I've been saying this over and over. I will continue to say it. We are being used for our energetic gold and silver and other ones, but it's mainly gold because the sun is gold and the sun is the taker. It evaporates. Just remember that. The sun, you go back to the sun, it gives to the moon. That is the incarnation, reincarnation process. We are being used for our gold currency. I have a feeling that the moon is the silver, so it's gold and silver, which is why the Vatican has the gold and silver keys on its flag. But there it is, 44, tied to androgynous and gold currency, which is what we're being harvested for during our time here on planet Earth. And then you get into the color spectrum, and typically it's red to, it's known as RGB or Roy G. Biv if you're a graphic designer. And you could flip them either way. The R and the B could be interchanged, but nonetheless, the sun, the earth, and the moon all make up the battery. And that is why the numbers 1 through 9 added up equal the number 45, which is Pandora's box, which is what we're all having to live out during our stay here through this game of life. So now let's get into the second topic called the lion. The lion. This one's going to be a deep one, and here it is. I had posted on my social media page. I got a lot of activity on this one, and it was a disruptor because it brings theology. Many of you are theology fans. That's totally fine. I'm fond of it because I love to decode it. And of course, it's part of the script in this software called The Game of Life. But there are many other ones that, people should read as well to get other extension pieces of our reality. Upanishads, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the ancient texts of Shinto. I mean, there's so many other good ones that you can read besides just the Bible, right? But nonetheless, in 1 Peter verses 5 verses 8, it's a very well-known scripture, and it says and talks about the adversary, the devil. Of course, Peter is St. Peter. He's the Pope in the Vatican, and he wears the upside-down cross as its symbol, the reversal of the Christ. But nonetheless, it says that the devil is a lion, and it's looking to devour you. Yeah, of course, because you see, folks, when you know what you're looking for, and you can use these great tools called numerology and the tarot, they're not demonic, they're not satanic. Those are just ridiculous adjectives people like to use because it makes them feel good when they are able to put something on something and label it and then, feel good about themselves. And we all do it. So I'm not immune to that, folks. I'm looking in the mirror when I'm saying that, by the way. So I'm not trying to make myself be better than anybody else, because I do my own fair share of placing, labels on things. But when you know what you're looking for, you clearly can see what's going on. Notice, the subtleties that I didn't point out. 5 and 8, 58 is puppet master and numerology. I've been showing that over and over and over again. Yeah, the puppet master is the sun. Part of it is anyway. The sun is the Yod. It's the Yaldabaoth, Jesus, Lucifer. They're all tied up in that. You have Ra in there and, ancient Egypt. We're going to get into that, Krishna. But it's the sun, ladies and gentlemen. That's the devil. The sun is the devil because it will evaporate you. You go outside when it's really hot out and, don't drink any water, and you can potentially die. Dehydration will kill you. And so the moon's not going to do that. The sun is going to do that. And the sun is the devil / the lion, which is where you get the astrological sign of Leo, because Leo is the occupier of the 5th house. And it's all about the 5. You've heard that song, I got 5 on it and all that. All those other things, the nickel and 5. I showed that in my Angel Falls. It's all about the 5. That's in the Umbrella Academy, that show. It was number 5, the Stone Cold Killer. You'll notice if you start focusing on the 5, you will see it everywhere. And Leo, of course, is in the 5th house of astrology. And what is the lord of the 5th house of astrology? The sun. If you know what you're looking for in astrology, it's the sun. And of course, the 15th card is the devil card. So clearly you can see what this scripture was saying in the New Testament. It's talking about the sun and Leo and the devil. It's all right there. You can't miss it. It's really easy to see once you synchronize everything and we get some visuals. And, that brings into the Old Testament, because that was the New Testament. The Old Testament, you're going to get the same kind of results. The Torah is tied to the devil, and the Torah is all Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. The Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, of course, is the sun, and it is all tied to that devil character. So there is no separation. It's the giver and taker. I know the sun while I was born on a Sunday. What day were you born on? Tell you a lot about who you were, or who you are, I should say. And the sun's a battery. The sun is a battery, folks. Clearly, that's what's going on. So we know the sun is 19, and the original expression of gold, which is the sun, is called aurum, and that's why gold has the abbreviation AU, which is the Latinized expression of gold. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, this entire reality is rigged and scripted, and mankind is just fulfilling the script, which kind of eliminates free will. Now, I'm going to support it, showing you may have a little bit of free will. I think the free will we do have is like, what kind of shoes you're going to buy, what you're going to have for dinner, maybe where you're going to go on vacation. But other than that, you don't own your life. Your life owns you. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to support it as I go through this presentation, show you this reality is completely scripted and rigged. Man is not doing any of the scripting. Man is just following the script. I've been saying this over and over. I have almost 200 videos now to support that. Over and over, the same patterns in so many different layers of this reality. But this is the very reason why money, fiat currency, was backed by gold, because it's all sun worship. That's why the all-seeing eye is on the back of the dollar. The all-seeing eye is tied to the sun. It's all sun worship, ladies and gentlemen. The Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the Tetragrammaton, it's all solar worship, all of it. And of course, when you do the numerology on the word gold, it's the number 17, which is tied to the word life. And that's why I say that mankind is being used for our energetic expressions that we give off through our emotions, love and fear. And we go back to the gold. This is what's taking our energetic expressions. It's the sun. That's the boss. You can go outside on a really hot day and you can scream and rant and rave all you want and tell the sun all your feelings, and it's not going to do anything differently. It doesn't care what we think. It's the boss. When we get into astrology, and I talked about this just a little bit ago, here is the 5th house. Notice it's circled here in astrology. It's the sign of Leo, the lion. That's why 5 is tied to the Lion of Judah, the tribes. It's the sun, ladies and gentlemen. It's all solar worship, all of it. And the sun is the lord of the 5th house, which is owned and operated by Leo. And that's why your sun sign in astrology is one of the most important ones that describe your personality. You see, we are the so below of the sun. The sun is our as above. We are the so below. And that's how we're being used. The sun is the architect in so many different ways. And man is just building the script out down here on earth, not controlling any of it. And it's owned and operated by Leo. When we get another expression through the tarot, here's the 5th card called the Hierophant. And this, of course, is the Pope. The Pope, which is why the Vatican is all about solar worship. I showed in my decode of the Vatican, Yaldabaoth, that's what owns the Vatican and runs the Vatican. It's all tied to Yaldabaoth, which is the Yod. They're all the same. There's no separation. They're all going to lead back to the same origins. Solar worship, lunar worship. Those are the arcs of the covenant, those two that rule over earth. And then you get into Sirius, and we're going to get into that at the very end of this presentation. How about the Chinese astrology? Well, I circled that one in the same spot as Leo and the sun. It's the freaking dragon. This is why the dragon is so revered in the Chinese astrology. The dragon is the animal of all animals in the Chinese expressions. And you clearly can see when you synchronize Chinese with the Western, it's Leo and the dragon. There is no separation. The dragon is the sun, ladies and gentlemen. That's why, also why Japan is known as the land of the rising sun. Japan. That's, to me, is probably the duality. Jah, praise Jah, and then Pan is the goat. That's Jesus and Lucifer, or Jesus and Thomas. That's for another story. But here is the dragon. What is the numerology of dragon? The number 22. The bridge to tell us more of the story is the element titanium, which is Saturn's moon called Titan. It's, folks, I've been pondering this for some time now, and I wonder if our moon is just the moon Titan. We just don't call it that. But it has something to do with Titan and the Titans and being casted down and the fallen angels, because the moon to me is what starts, or at least finishes, the incarnation process, and to me is the portal. The sun sucks you up, gives it to the moon brings you back down to earth. And the moon is tied to Titan, and there it is, titanium. And notice titanium's weight is 47. And that's a direct match of the word the Greeks called the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, the tetragrammaton. I've been showing this over and over and over, and most of you should know this by now. You know the words Washington, D.C., White House, Georgetown, as in the university in Washington, D.C. All of those words equal the number 47. Just using the Chaldean, I don't even have to go anywhere else, any other ciphers. What do you think is running Washington, D.C.? It's the sun, the dragon. Just like it runs everything else in this world. This is its game. We're all playing it out. All the world is a stage. It's all theater, and it's all scripted. All of it. So let's get into the words Sol and Luna. Other expressions of the sun and the moon. And notice Sol and Luna through numerology is the number 28. Clearly you can see the synchronization of what that 28 means. It's linked to architect. Now, Lucifer equals 28 as well, because Lucifer is tied to that architect. In essence, Lucifer is the architect, along with Jesus. They are the twins that make up the Yod, that make up Yaldabaoth. They're all tied together. There is no separation. So just pick whatever you resonate with. You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Although when you go back to Antiquity and you go back farther and farther in time, I think we get closer and closer to the source. That's why I fancy ancient Egypt, Ra and Ta and Sekhmet and those, because those have seniority on the timeline. I think everything is just plagiarism in a way, but notice it's 28, ladies and gentlemen. You can't make this stuff up, And when you go a step further, you see Sol is 13, Luna is 15. And when you bring those into the string of pi, notice where it appears. At the 1096th decimal digit of pi, you just drop that 0, and there's that 196 going right back to the element gold. Going right back to the sun, because the sun is the taker. The sun is the taker, giving to the moon gives to the earth. That's the Trinity. That's the cycle right there. The water cycle is nature's way of telling you how our reincarnation process works. So there it is, ladies. You can't make this up, just using different spellings, but coming to the same exact origin. Does not matter. So let's break down that word Sol, because the sun's the boss. And it's the 13. When you go down into the string of pi, ladies and gentlemen, that 13th digit is tied to the number 7, and what follows is the number 9. It's the 79. Again, you can't make this stuff up. This is how true decoding works. Getting rid of the ridiculous just connecting words to numbers. And I say that very loosely because I know some of you are basic decoders, and that's what you're doing right now, and that's where I started, so it's totally fine, but that's watered down. Anybody can connect any word with multiple words and get an outcome. You'll hit a lot of dead ends doing that. You must include other layers, and pi and the elements on the periodic table are two big links or layers to use when you're decoding. But clearly you can see that gold is once again found using Sol as the spelling, and it is the sun. The sun is gold, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it backs money. How about Yaldabaoth, the Gnostic demiurge? Well, Yaldabaoth is the number 29. And when you bring that into the string of pi, the 29 occupies 2 digits, 186. and 187. And if you get out your calculators, your trusty calculator, and you add up 186 plus 187, you're going to get the number 373. This is, folks, this is a no-brainer, and this is undeniable. Unless you're not a fan of math and numbers and numerology and pi, and you think it's all a big farce, and you think I'm completely just arbitrarily making this stuff up, you have to make the truth your own. But clearly, we're not even halfway into this presentation, and your doors should already be blown off. Clearly, you can see it's all about the sun. And Yaldabaoth, here's a great rendition. Yaldabaoth is known as the lion with the worm body. The lion is the sun, ladies and gentlemen. Lion is the sun. There's the sun behind its head. There's the moon. I mean, you can't miss it. Or I should, actually, Yaldabaoth may actually even be the star Sirius. I forgot to mention that. Yaldabaoth may be beyond the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. We know the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, Jesus and Lucifer, those are one. Those are a trio. The Jesus and Lucifer, Jesus and Thomas are the personalities of the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, which is the Tetragrammaton, which is the sun. Period. Yaldabaoth may actually be the star Sirius, which is beyond our galaxy, our reality of the sun and the moon, and this may be the reason why. But nonetheless, the sun, I believe, is in a binary system with Sirius, and we're going to get into that at the very, very end. But how about that, folks? And again, if Yaldabaoth runs everything, well, then we have other layers to examine and try to figure out. This is a big one right here. This is why I feel Yaldabaoth has much more seniority in the lineages, nonetheless, is because of this number right here. In the English, it's the number 89. 89, of course, reduces down to 17. 17 is Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh. 17 is life and whatnot. 17 is gold. But the 89 is a very special number. Notice we're using numberempire.com. It's not just any number. It's a freaking prime Fibonacci number. It's a 24th prime number, making up our X chromosomes. And it's the 11th Fibonacci number. And of course, the four fixed signs in astrology, the ox, lion, eagle, man, equals the number 89. How about that? So that's why I feel if anything's running anything, it's gonna be the Yaldabaoth character, and that's the Gnostic demiurge. So let's get into the topic, Sun Devil, and I want to digress and say thank you to all of you that made comments on my social media posts. Some of you and your posts and expressions are part of this decode, so thank you very much. There's too many people to even name. I think Dawn, I think you were the one that came up or posted this about the Sun Devil at the same time. I was kind of looking at this stuff. It was just the syncs were amazing, but nonetheless, of course, the college, Arizona State University, the Sun Devils, the college. And this is how I know that our reality is completely 1000%, no questions asked, completely scripted and rigged, and man is not doing it. Man is not coding anything. Man is just being used to express the code, and this is a perfect example right here. So let's get into Arizona State University, the Sun Devil. The Sun Devil, and Arizona, of course, has some of the most days with sunshine in the entire United States, and the Arizona State University was founded in 1885, and when you bring that into the string of pi, folks, look at where it appears at the number 471, and you go right back to the sun, and you'll see it's right there. Talking about the Sun Devils now, folks. So do you think that man was the people that were behind the colleges? Do you think that someone had founded this and said, we're going to found it in 1885 because I looked into the string of pi and the number 471 that's where it's found, and we're going to call this Arizona State Sun Devils because of the 471. And I mean, to me, this is absolute proof that the masculine dominant side of the dial pad is the 741, 147, depending on your vantage point. It's the sun right there. It's crystal clear to me. So it's not called the sun devil for nothing. Notice it's the number 33. 33. I mean, you have 365 days in a year right there on the Gregorian calendar. And then, of course, the sun is the 19. It's a battery. It's the devil. And the Sun Devils is what their mascot is. I mean, what are the odds, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, the Sun Devil Club, this one right here, just pull this, established 1947. 47 is the Tetragrammaton. Folks, you know how many people would have to be in on the conspiracy to try to sit down and get all these layers that I'm showing you right and embedded into their lives? It's just not, to me, it's just not possible. That's just my truths again. Here's more proof, more support that man is being used. The magic square of the sun, maybe this is the first time you've seen it. Let me zoom in a little bit. But here is the magic square of the sun. All the planets have their own magic square. This is the sun, and all the rows of the magic square of the sun are 111. 111, of course, is tied to 1.21 gigawatts, a bolt of lightning, which is, part of nature and whatnot. It's tied to antimony. Antimony is tied to the all-seeing eye. It's all in bed together, folks, and it's telling us that we're being owned and operated, and we're just being used by the architect to express the code down here as our avatars. But when you add up all the rows, it becomes 666, which is why I had the song playing in the beginning of this by the great band Iron Maiden, because that song has so much merit, and I'm actually going to show a little bit about that during this. I don't even think I included those slides, unfortunately. I don't think I did. But nonetheless, 666 is the magic square of the sun. And here is the Sun Devil, of course, the 33, and here is the latitude, longitude of the Arizona State University. 33 degrees north, 111 degrees west. I mean, how do you wrap your mind around this? 33 is the number of the Christ and ascension, the vertebrae we have in our back, and of course, it's tied to the sun, and then this is tied to the sun. And you mean to tell me they plant a college there and they call it the Sun Devil? Now, maybe they were conscious of, maybe somebody that opened the college was a fan of the esoteric and magic and knew that and decided to go to Arizona and plant it there and decided to call it the Sun Devils because of all this right here, all these synchronicities. But I still always go back and retro it and say man's being used. So the thoughts that come in your mind, those control you. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Arizona is the state where Arizona State University, the Sun Devils are, and that's the number 24, tied to Yaldabaoth again. Remember, Yaldabaoth's the 89, and 89 is the 24th prime number, tied to the sun, and the Greeks called the sun Helios, which it rode on a chariot across the sky. Here's one of the pictures I found, really cool. And that's a direct match, the 24. So again, we have 24. 24 is the X chromosomes. We are the so below of the sun. The sun is the as above. Human beings are the so below. This is solidified proof here, folks. That's how it is. Here is the original spelling in the Greek of Helios right there. Notice it equals the number 66, 6 short of 666. And 66 is a very special number because it's tied to the number 317. 317 is the 66 prime number, of course. And what is 317? It's an anagram of the number 137. And 137 is the 33rd freaking prime number. I mean, look at that. These are two big prime numbers right here, and they're both anagrams of one another. And this is tied to the angle of light, folks. The fine structure constant. I mean, folks, you can't make this up when you know what you're looking for. Man's being used. So, how about the song Here Comes the Sun? Someone, I don't remember who you were, but thank you so much for posting that on my social media page after I came out with, Lucifer's the Sun, because someone had posted something about the Beatles. The Beatles, of course, are all about death and regeneration. That's what the beetle is all about. And the beetle is tied to zirconium, which means gold colored, and that's the 40th element, and that's tied to Yaldabaoth and the battery, 9189, all that stuff. You should know all this stuff if you've been following this research. I know I'm spitting a lot of this out for those of you that are new. My apologies if you can't follow along, but keep watching the videos and you'll finally start to click with all this stuff. Notice the song title of Here Comes the Sun is the number 67. And that's a very special number because 67 is the 19th freaking prime number, ladies and gentlemen. 19th prime number. And then here's the 19th card. Jaw on floor. Right there. I mean, how else you would describe this? George Harrison wrote the song. Was he a fan of the tarot? Did he know the prime numbers? Did he know the Chaldean numerology? Is that why he titled it that? Or was his mind being used to write about the sun? Because the sun is the architect. I think it's the man is being used. 67, of course, is tied to the element holmium. Holmium has a weight of 164. That is one number higher than the 64. 64 is our possible codons in our DNA. 67 is holmium, ho, ho, ho. I've shown that with Santa Claus, and tied to the demiurge. But holmium is a very special element because it's the highest magnetic strength of any element. We're talking about the sun, magnetism and electricity. Here comes the sun. Folks, I mean, are you kidding me? How else are we to describe this? Man is being used. Here's the guy who wrote the song, George Harrison. Born on February 25th, and February 25th is the 26th card in the deck, the King Clubs. Let me be really transparent with that. Here is the boilerplate chart for the cards of illumination. You should know this by now. The months run across the top. The days run along the side over here. So we have the category February. We go down to the 25. There it is. It's the King Clubs card. Now we want to know what number that is. We go to the lineages of the cards. We go down to the club suits, the second suit representing the element air. And there it is. The 26th element, these represent air. That's why the trefoil, the club, is the cross, and the word was God and God was the word. Well, you speak those words with air. This is the air suit. Maybe different in the tarot, but in the cards, this is the air suit, and that's the 26. George Harrison's birth card, and that's tied to the God in the English, 26. Who do you think was controlling George to write the song, Here Comes the Sun? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that, but clearly you can see that man is not coding this. February 25th. What day is that on the calendar? It's the 56th day of the year. Now you know how important that 56 is if you've seen that in your decodes. 56 is barium. Barium's average atomic weight. The angle of light, the 137, going right back to that 33. So you can see, folks, 33, you can see it's, well, it's Masonic, and folks, they, if you know what you're looking for, you can scrape away all that garbage. They just have knowledge that you don't have. And I bet a lot of them just laugh. And no, I'm going to clearly tell you, I'm not a Mason. I don't belong to any lodges. I don't belong to any secret society. I don't even need any of that kind of stuff. Don't need it. What you're seeing here is my own lodge. I'm a free Logan, as I told somebody. Here's the origins of the song, Here Comes the Sun, written by George Harrison. This one completely blew me away. This is an anchor. This is a nail in the coffin to show you man is being freaking used. Simple story. George decided to go to his friend Eric Clapton in in Surrey. And he went into his garden and he said the seeds of Here Comes the Sun were planted. Okay, well, let's look at Eric Clapton, since that's where he started writing the song Here Comes the Sun. And lo and behold, I was so freaking I was like, it just gets funny now, ladies and gentlemen. It just makes, God's a comedian. The architect is a freaking stand-up comedian. I'm all about laughing and joke. It's just have fun with life because it's a big joke. Do the best you can to laugh and look at the funny things that we do, the dumb moronic things that we do, because life is a joke. This is complete proof of that. Eric Clapton is where George Harrison went to write Here Comes the Sun. And Eric Clapton was born on March 30th. And let me show you, just so we can be really transparent. Here's March, going all the way down to the 30th. There it is. It's the 6 clubs card, and we go to the lineages of the cards. And what's the 6 club cards, folks? It's the 19th card in the deck. And we go right back, and what's the 19th card in the tarot? Yeah, it's the freaking Sun card. I mean, you tell me, how do you wrap your mind around this? I mean, a simple story. You think George Harrison was like, I got to go to Eric Clapton's house because he was born on March 30th, and that's the 6 clubs card, and that's the 19th card tied to the sun, and I'm going to write a song, Here Comes the Sun, and it's all tied to Eric Clapton, so I got to go to his house to do it. Folks, that is such absurd, ridiculous thinking. We need to be more responsible and give credit where credit's due. Man is being used. We are being used to fulfill the script called the game of life. That is it. There is no other options to go by, ladies and gentlemen. So have fun with life. Discover your code. Discover who you are and live through this power. These all have energies to them. And we bring in the element on the periodic table that represents the number 19. It's potassium. Potassium has an abbreviation of the letter K. And we know that the sun is measured temperature-wise in what's called Kelvin, not Celsius or Fahrenheit. It's Kelvin, and potassium's abbreviation is the letter K. How about that? And, you know, it's 39, and we're going to get into that. But just to extend upon it one more time, one other layer, in the 6 clubs and the lineages of that, in the tarot, I mean, it is the 19th card leading to the sun, but it leads to the 6 of Wands, a secondary look, which is the 28th card in the deck. If you count the Fool as the 22nd card, the 28th element is nickel, which is 58. What's 58? It's Puppet Master. Nickel is tied to Lucifer. That's why I said Lucifer is the sun. Period. There's no room for debate when you look and observe these layers. Now, if you want to go back and go do your own research and try to put 2 and 2 together, that's totally fine if you're going to regurgitate your stories, but come up with something other than what an ancient text tells you with nothing to support it other than words in a book. To me, that's weak foundations. Using multiple layers, this is how you build a strong foundation, and telling us how this whole entire reality works. And that's why those in music that know, they're all sun worship. It's all sun worship. Theology, sun worship. Theology is a book of astrology tied to the sun. Here's more proofs. Here Comes the Sun off the album Abbey Road. Came out on September 26. 26 is the G-O-D. But look at the length of the song, circled there in red. It's 3 minutes and 6 seconds. When you do the alchemy of that, it's lithium and carbon going over to the trusty calculator. Look at what you get. Lithium 7.016 and carbon's 12. You add them up, you get 19.016. 19 is the sun, ladies and gentlemen. So, I mean, did George Harrison write the song and purposely make sure that him and George Martin, the producer, made sure it was 306 because they knew about alchemy and they knew it had to equal that 19, so it would be all about the sun? Or do you think the better, more accurate rendition is that man is being used to fulfill the script and we're just playing out our parts? I mean, 16 is Sirius. Sirius is the boss of the sun. We're going to get into that, ladies and gentlemen. Here are the total lyrics for Here Comes the Sun. I just pulled it up on, this may be different than what you find, but it's all about finding the code and what is delivered to you. And here it is when I typed in Here Comes the Sun lyrics. This is the first rendition of it, what I got. And look at how many words it is. 141. What's 141? That's freaking pi, ladies and gentlemen. 3.141. 528 letters. 28 is nickel. That's the representation of the sun. 5 is Leo. That's a representation of the sun. You just got to know what you're looking for. These are subtleties, but we cannot leave them out because they deserve acknowledgement and they have a lot of merit. These little small things that most people don't pay attention to. But nonetheless, look at the total numerology of Here Comes the Sun lyrics, 1937. 19, of course, is tied to potassium and Kelvin and the sun. And then 37 is tied to the sun. 19 and 37. I'm going to get into the 37 in a minute, but here is the loop. I've shown this a few times, but I'm going to be getting more into this. This was a discovery that I found. I don't even know when I found it. I think I found it last year, and I was tinkering around with it, and I've been tinkering around. Some of you have caught on. You've been tinkering with it, but this is an anomaly. In the string of pi, you will not find this anywhere else. I've looked high and low. I have not found anything like this. This is an anomaly in the string of pi. Notice it makes its own loop. And of course, I believe it's tied to the reincarnation process, keeping you stuck here in this time loop called the game of life. So the 19 tied to the battery, possibly tied to the sun/Sirius, is the representation of the 37. We go to the 37. The 37 is a representation of the 46, and the 46 is a representation of the 19, and it just goes right back to this one right here, the 37, 46, 19, 19, 37, 46. It's just a repeater. There's the Trinity right there. You can't miss it, folks. Try having some fun with this. There are so many layers, but I feel that this is what keeps us in this game of life. Right here. And some of you like, oh, I'm not coming back, and but good luck proving that. I don't think there is any way out as of right now. That's where I stand. I think we just get reincarnated, we change avatars, and that's it. So be the best person you can be. You can check that off the list, because if there is such a thing as karma, which is a contradiction anyway, because man's being used, then you're going to level up and become a better, stronger avatar next time. Again, life's a contradiction. So let's get into the sixth topic called Theology's Son. And let's bring in some of the Bible, the Taurian Bible. Bi and bull. Bi means two. Bull is Taurus, the ox. The Taurus fields. Bible is the Old and New Testament, love and fear. Those are our two emotions tied to Thanksgiving. If you haven't seen my Decode on Thanksgiving, Decoded, please check it out. First was celebrated in the year 1621. Love and fear is 16 and 21. Every time you celebrate Thanksgiving, you're giving your appreciation for your duality, being here in duality. Now you know. But nonetheless, folks, Psalm 80. Someone had posted something in. I don't remember who you are, but thank you very much. You had posted something, and this was one of the scriptures that was listed in your little picture you posted. Psalms 84 verses 11. It says right there, in black and white, the Lord God is a sun and shield. I believe the sun, of course, is the sun, and the shield is going to be the moon. That is the Ark of the Covenant. It says, for the Lord God is a sun and shield. It is the sun and the moon. That's what I believe. But notice that, of course, we go to the numbers to tell us the story. 84 is tied to the 37th element. I told you I'd be showing that. This was part of the lyrics of Here Comes the Sun. There it is. You can't make this stuff up, folks. I mean, you see the syncs. It's insane. And I think it's absolutely hilarious. But 84 tied to the rubidium, and when you go to the Royal Society of Chemistry, this is the little icon they use, and the very reason why they use that is because of this description. They said the image is of an electric eye. Think about what it's saying here in parentheses. An electric eye, that would be the sun, and it's inspired by the use of rubidium, which is this element, in photocells which detect light. So how about that, ladies and gentlemen? And you see, this is the representation of our eyes. So this is the as above, and then your two eyes, which are the black suns, by the way. That's why your pupils are black. That's why we're the little devils down here. Make no mistake about it. The so below devil is you and me. So just own your shit. Study your code. Know who you are. But there's the 37th card, the Jack Diamonds. I've been showing, if you haven't seen my Jack and Jill Decoded, we're all Jack and Jill stuck down here in the box. 37 is tied to rubidium, which is tied to the 84, tied to this scripture talking about the Lord God being the sun and shield, otherwise the sun and moon. You can't make this stuff up, folks. You can clearly see the synchronicities there with absolute certainty. How about the string of pi? What does that tell us? Well, bringing the number 84, which is what this chapter in Psalms is all about. The 84 appears and occupies 2 digits in the string of pi, 18 and 19. There it is. 84 is 8 is 18, 4 is 19. The 18th and 19th card in the tarot are the sun and the moon, which is the sun and shield that the Bible talks about. So you can clearly see, folks, it's all about the planets, astrology. The Bible is astrology. It is nothing other than astrology. That's what it is. That's why it's all allegorical, because you need to know the interpretations of things. The tarot is not demonic or satanic. It has nothing to do with that. Sure, you may be able to use it for those kinds of purposes if you want to label it as such, because what you do with the force is up to you. But when you're interpreting this reality, these are neutral, and they're just telling you how all this reality works. And again, it's 37. So what's 18 and 19? 37. There it is. 37 has an atomic weight of 84. It's tied to Psalms 84, talking about the sun and shield. That's the sun and the moon. The Lord God is the sun and the moon. You can clearly see it. It's right there. You can't miss it. So let's get into the scriptures talking about Lucifer and Jesus. There are only 2 scriptures that talk about the morning star representing Lucifer and Jesus. The first one, Lucifer, being Isaiah 14 verses 12. I've shown this on my social media page. Clearly you can see that Lucifer, in the original spelling, in the only verse in the Bible, 14 verses 12, in the Old Testament, it's written in Hebrew/Aramaic. There is the breakdown of it in numerology. It's the number 39. 39, of course, gives its energy to the 12. That's tied to the hangman. That's why the hangman is on the sun side. But 39 is the weight of potassium. And what's potassium? The 19th element. The 19th card is the sun card. Folks, you can't miss this. And this is absolute proof that Lucifer is the sun. Period. When you get into the tarot cards, 14 verses 12, here it is. It's the temperance card and the hangman. And the temperance card, there's the sun behind its head, balancing the energy, the great balancer. There's the triangle in the middle, but this is card number 14, all about balance. And of course, 12, representing verses 12, is the hangman. And there's the solar behind its head right there once again. So 2 cards with the solar deity behind, or the solar energy behind, in the renditions of these cards. You can't make this up. Clearly you can see. And the whole purpose of this and what it means, what this means is us coming down and becoming man. We're all the hangmen. That's why the 12 is on the clock. That's why you use the number 12. And we are all enlightened if we want to be, but we're down here in the upside down world. And we're the hangmen and women. And that's why the scripture is so pertinent for all this. And, you know, it's right there. I mean, I know a lot of you claim that Lucifer is Venus, but I just have not found where that fits into this narrative at all. I mean, Lucifer's called the light bringer. It makes more sense that it's the sun. I mean, I know Venus you can see in the morning, but it's not the sun. It represents the light bringer more than Venus does. And you know, how does it come down and cut to the ground? Because this right here will take things from you. Once the sun comes up, people start moving around. When you start moving around, you start creating energy. Things go wrong, things go right. You start moving and doing, and things break. And once you start moving, you start to decay things. That's what this whole thing's all about. That's what weakens the nations. That's what this means. Now we get into Jesus, of course. And the representation, the other half, because, you know, I'm still on the fence of where the moon plays out in all this. And I had said sometimes in some of my other posts that Jesus is the moon. And, you know, I may be wrong on that. I'm not sure. I can't obviously prove it. This is all theoretical. But let's just assume Jesus is the sun. Well, they would be the twins. They would be the twins. tied to the number 59, which is praseodaimia, meaning the two twins. 59 is the game of life. So many layers to look at with this right here, ladies and gentlemen. But here is the original spelling through the English, because Jesus came on the scene in the New Testament. I know some of you say, no, it's Joshua, but it doesn't make any sense being Joshua. The Christ came in the New Testament. The New Testament is all about love. The Old Testament is all about fear. So it makes more sense. Jesus came in the New Testament written by the Greeks. And the first letter was not the letter J, it was the letter I, as in I am. And Jesus had a twin brother. His name was Thomas. Starts with the letter T. When you bring the I and the T together, you get the word it. And that's what runs us, ladies and gentlemen. It. It runs us. The little voice in your head, that's your identity. It owns you. Notice it's the number 1 and 4, and it's a match of the God. The 1 and 4. They both reduce down to the number 5. 5 is boron, 5 is man. 5 is in the middle of the dial pad. 5 is the sun. 5 is the house of Leo. Leo is exalted, and it has the sun there as its Lord. We are the so below of the sun. The as above is the son above us, which is Jesus and Thomas with this expression. And you have, of course, here's Stephen King. You have the dark side and the light side. Good cop, bad cop. Can't have one without the other, though, ladies and gentlemen down here. It doesn't work that way. Until the game changes, doesn't work that way. Here's the original spellings of Jesus and Thomas through the Greek. Clearly, you can see with ironclad and convincing evidence, if you're a fan of numerology, using the original spellings now, it's pretty crystal clear to support this narrative. Here's the Christ. Jesus is 96. Thomas is the mirror of that, the 69. And Jesus and Thomas are known as the twins. In the show Lucifer, that came out on Netflix. It's in season 5 right now. This was one of the episodes. Let me just break and show you that. Here it is. It's season 4 and episode 4. 44 is gold currency. The little subtleties. But it's called Lucifer's Auction. That equals 58 numerology, matching the nickel and 28, Lucifer's 28. But there it is, 69. And Thomas is 69. Now, what's the name of the actor that played Lucifer? Thomas John Ellis. That's his real birth name. What do you think the odds would be when you synchronize it? Do you think they were casting him because Jerry Bruckheimer, who was the producer, knew this information? Maybe. It's possible, but I'll still go right back to retro saying that man's being used because many people don't know this information and they still are doing and linking up, and I'm finding synchronicities in everything. That's why you can see them in everything. You decode news and sports. They'd have to all be in on the conspiracy, and they're not. Many people don't even know what they're doing. They just do it. And that's because the little voice in the back of your head, that is it. And it owns you. And that's the God. Our brains are just receiving stations. But there it is, the yin yang. Jesus and his brother Thomas. That's why he was casted to play Lucifer. So you can't miss this, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are the sun. They are the sun. That's our as above. I had done a decode on the Beast 666. It's one of my earlier ones I put out in 2019. I probably really need to redo this one. But I wanted to pull a slide that has a lot of merit, and I still feel this is the most accurate rendition. This is doing the alchemology, which is taking numerology and bringing it into alchemy and then getting our outputs. Let me zoom in. And again, alchemology is taking the numerology, getting the numbers, and then tying those numbers into the alchemical representations and then adding those up, doing the alchemy of these. And Jesus being 18 through just numerology, but when you do the alchemology, Jesus becomes 38.049. And then when you do Lucifer, it's 28 through the numerology, but when you do the alchemology, Lucifer becomes 58.047. When you add up 38.049 of Jesus and Lucifer's 58.047, get out your calculators. you're going to get the number 96.096. And this is the beast. This is the personality of the Son. If you believe in good cop, bad cop, superhero and villain, Jesus and Lucifer, the beast is 96. It's a double yin yang. It feeds itself. 9 is a repeater number. Feeds itself. Jesus and Lucifer, Jesus and Thomas. Can't make this stuff up. This is ironclad convincing evidence to support this. This is how our reality works. And again, these are my opinions and truths. Going a step further, here are the 2 verses in the Old and New Testament that describe Jesus and Lucifer as the morning star. In the Old Testament, it's Isaiah 14 verses 12. I already showed that. Lucifer, son of the morning. And then Jesus saying that he is the bright and morning star. And when you take just the numbers, the chapters and the verses, 22, 16, 14 verses 12, look at what you get. I mean, of all things, what do you think the odds would be? The only 2 verses that describe Jesus and Lucifer being the son of the morning and the morning star, it's freaking 19. It's the sun card. These guys are the sun. I know some of you say, well, one's the black sun. Maybe. That's possible. But you're not called the light bringer for nothing. But maybe it is the black sun. I don't know. Possible. I know some of you are going to say that. So I'll bring it up. Say it's possible. When you do the numerology of these 2 scriptures, Revelation 22 verses 16, Isaiah 14 verses 12, it gives you the number 70 and number 70 in the string of pi. Look at where it's found, ladies and gentlemen. The 96th decimal. It occupies 96 and 97, which is curium and berkelium, if you're following along with the periodic table, which is just going to give you the tetragrammaton again. Folks, this is the sun. It's the sun, 96 yin yang. You can't. It's Jesus and Thomas, Jesus and Lucifer. There it is. It's right there. That's your architect. So let's get into Antiquity's sun. What does time tell us? Antiquity. Well, then we get into Krishna. You know, Krishna is, of course, tied to the ancient texts of Hinduism, which is what I've researched. It's the oldest known religious text out there. It's older than anything, older than Christianity, all of them, besides, of course, ancient Egypt, but it's older than all of them. So the story to me is not as watered down. It's not copied as much. Of course, I still think that you go back to ancient Egypt and we get into Ra, and we're going to get into that because Ra is the sun as well. But Krishna is 19. Notice it starts with the letter K. That's a match of the 19th element, potassium. Now, some of you want to know, like, why is that K? Why is that K? Well, we're going to go right here and we're going to go potassium. I just want to show you K. And what does the K mean? K means calcium. It's from the Neo-Latin word calcium. That's where it came from. Just so we're clear, from the German word calcium. Just want to be crystal clear on this. So potassium comes from the word potash, but it's the K. That's the standout. And you can clearly see. Do you think that they were sitting down back in the ancient times when they came up with the word Krishna and they called it that because they knew that potassium would be the 19th element? I don't even know if Krishna came out before potassium was discovered or vice versa. But do you think that they were sitting down and they're like, we got to call it Krishna because it's going to be tied to the element potassium, and that's the 19th element. And, you know, the tarot cards, those are going to come out hundreds of years later, but we know it's going to be the 19th card because we're looking through the crystal ball and we know that it's going to be the 19th card. But folks, that's ludicrous thinking, okay? Man is being used in all cultures, all ethnic backgrounds. So just make the truth your own. Make the truth your own. I mean, you can't miss this. Sun card, you can't. Krishna is a version of the sun, and of course, you know, there's this 19th card, the 6 clubs, that stands for victory, and there's subtlety. There's the 33 right there. Going further with Krishna is the 19. Potassium's average atomic weight is 39, tied to Lucifer. We already showed that. And if we go 39 digits into the string of pi, 3.14159, all the way down 39 digits past the 3 point. Look at what we get, 191. Bring in the element on the periodic table matching that. What is that? It's the Wizard of Oz. It's osmium, otherwise known as the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is the sun, folks. Wizard of Oz is tied to the sun. And last but not least, on Krishna, the potassium, the average atomic weight of potassium is 39.098. When you add those up using the trusty calculator, look at what number you get. Not just any number. Again, is this pure coincidence? 137, once again, tied to that 33 because it's the prime number of the 137. Folks, it's the angle of light. I mean, it's all about sun. Krishna is the sun. Then you get into, of course, some of my favorite stuff, ancient Egypt. My Architect of the Universe Part 4 will have ancient Egypt and Ptah and Sekhmet in there. But clearly you can see this needs no really deep explanation. Ra is the element radium. It's right there. And of course it has 88 protons. 88 is the four-leaf clover. I showed that in my other Architect of the Universe. Those are the two torus fields. It's part of that. If you know what the 226 mean, 26 is the GOD, 2 is the torus fields of the 26. It's the second highest number above the 26. If you know what you're looking for. And then Ra, very simple, is 18 and 1, otherwise known as 181. Going over to numberempire.com and synchronizes the 181. It's not just any number, it's the frickin' 42nd prime number. And 42, of course, is tied to the element molybdenum. I've been showing this over and over. This is tied to the words crucifixion, resurrection. And notice it has a weight of 96, one of them, which matches that of gold. But it means lead. And, you know, Ra's the sun god. So, of course, gold is the sun. And we are lead, and we go back to the gold. We go back to the sun. The sun evaporates us. We're made up of water, and we go back to the sun, and then it gives off to the moon, and we come back and incarnate again. And this is the process. I did this in my Angel Falls decode. This is the entire nature's Trinity. The sun takes, the sun gives to the moon. The moon has everything to do with water. Just remember, the moon, the god of the moon was called Sin. And what did Jesus come here to do? Take away your sins. That's why Jesus has a major presence with the moon. The moon is called the god of sin. And Jesus came to take your sins, wash them away, baptize you. That's why he's all about water. The moon is all about water. And the moon gives itself to the clouds, and the clouds rain. And as it rains, the water supplies the world with whatever it needs to live. Every time it rains, that's the Christ. Rain is love. Feeds the plants. Without water, you will die. Go a long time without food, but water, no can do. That's why it's tied to the Christ. So let's get into the number 8 category, my last one. Actually, I think I'm going to try to sneak in a small little piece on the number of the beast. But the boss's boss. The boss's boss. And it's all about this, ladies and gentlemen. It comes down to the star, the mighty star, Sirius. So I think you got Sirius Radio, and the ancient Egyptians. It was all about Sirius and the flooding of the Nile when it came around, and it's all about being in a binary system with our sun, and it's the brightest star in the night sky. This is a big, big, big deal. This just might be the ruler of all rulers. This may be the ruler of our sun. See, folks, I feel our sun is on a timer. I feel that's why it says the devil only has a short period of time. That's because the sun will burn out eventually. It will eventually burn out. And I think the star Sirius has everything to do with that. Notice that in the original spelling from the Greek, there it is, through the numerology, it's the number 100. How very fitting if you know what these numbers mean. Then we want to get the bridge to get a further explanation of what the 100 means. We go to the 100 element called fermium. Fermium's average atomic weight is 257.095. That's not just any number. It's the freaking 55th prime number. And 55 is tied to the word secret destroyer, or words. Of course, I mean, the Egyptians knew when this came back, causes havoc. Secret destroyer. And I feel that the star Sirius will be the piece that will end the sun's life, and that the sun's on a timer. That's again, the sun goes to Satan and having a short period of time, and the devil having a short period of time. Absolutely, the sun is on a timer. The sun is on a timer. So we get into this 100. This is, I mean, have you seen the show The 100? They came from the Ark from outer space, and they came down to Earth after it was radioactive, after like a nuclear war or something like that. The whole story. Interesting show. The 100. Tied to the star Sirius. Tied to this element fermium. So what about the element fermium, to get some more clues, just to get more ironclad convincing evidence? Fermium was discovered in 1953. What's 53? That's the element iodine, as in the I am that I am. But look at where the 1953 is found in the string of pi, folks. I mean, you can't make this up. 417th decimal digit, and the 417 goes right back to the sun. We know that the star Sirius I believe it's in a binary system with our sun. And you see, it's the ruler of our sun. You can't make this up, folks. Man's not coding this. Look at all the layers I'm using. I'm using a different language, English language, mathematics, pi, the dial pad. I mean, do you realize what goes into this? Man's not coding this. We are just following the script. So what about that star Sirius? Well, it was discovered by this guy, Frederick Wilhelm Bessel. And I forgot about this, but his name in numerology equals the number 79, which is gold, which is the sun. Anytime you see gold, it means the sun. You know, it's funny. 79, 7 plus 9 is 16, and Sirius is the number 16. We're going to get into that. But here's Frederick's bio. He was born. This is just more proof, folks. I mean, think about this, what I'm showing you here. Come on. He was born on July 22nd, 1784. 84, of course, is tied to 37. 17 is tied to the Yod He Vav He. But let's go look at that. It's this card right here. I'm going to show you in a second. But there is the 22nd of July, the 19th card in the deck, which is the 6 clubs. 22nd of July. Let's be really transparent. Here we go. Here is the category July going all the way down to the 22nd. It's the 6 clubs card. Again, the 6 clubs card is the 19th card in the deck. Go right back here. This is his birth freaking card, folks. 19 is in the tarot, the sun. And this guy discovered Sirius? Are you kidding? And his name is gold, which is the sun? I mean, folks, look at what you're seeing here. Undeniable that we live in a scripted reality, and man's not coding this. Got to give respect to whatever created this reality, not trying to take ownership. Just follow the code. Discover your code. But anyway, here's more. He passed on the 17th of March, and 17th of March is 173, and that's tied to the 40th prime number, which is death and regeneration, tied to zirconium and Yaldabaoth. It's tied to the anagram of the 137, which is the 33, which is the angle of light. Folks, it just goes so deep. 22 and 7 is, divide that into one another, you get 3.14. I mean, folks, it's just ridiculous. It gets so ridiculous. The code, and then he has 2 cards that are a 66, one short of 666. And when you take his cards and add them up, 19 and 32, 6 diamonds is 32, you get the number 51. 51 is antimony. Antimony is the all-seeing eye. It's the all-seeing eye, which I believe Sirius is the all-seeing eye of our sun. This is the boss of our sun, so it's called the boss's boss. And this guy who found it Look at the sinks. Should tell you that we're living in a scripted reality. Bringing a little more theology into this, Jesus said, I am the root. This should be clarifying evidence here, by the way. Jesus said, I am the root and the offspring of David. Who's David? Sirius. It's right there. I mean, you can't mess this up. If Jesus is the son, who's the father of Jesus? Sirius. It's in a binary system with our son. David is Sirius. And this is kind of how I feel the tarot loves to explain stuff, through the expressions and the symbology and the natural lineages of the cards. And, you know, this is the 16th card in the deck, the Tower card. And, you know, this is even though this is a very destructive card, this is, you know, days 1 through 6 is creation. That's how many days of creation we're told in theology, 1 through 6. And the Tower is a phallus or a penis, and this is like ejaculation right there, and this is like giving birth or fertilizing the egg. 16. And that, when the baby's born, it goes to card number 17, which is Earth. So this is the starting point, the seed, the root. David, Sirius. That's why the Sirius is a major secret destroyer, representing the word hell. 16. Represented by sulfur. Sulfur, very violent in water, sulfur is. And so David, being Sirius, more likely, the Tower card, it feeds and it gives birth, or it helps give birth to the earth, which is 17. The Star card, which is, this is Sirius right there. I have a feeling that's Sirius right there. And then, of course, the earth is born. The earth is created. And what comes after the earth? The sun and the moon. God said, let there be light. And the earth, here's the sun and the shield of the earth. And, you know, some small little bits. Jesus is 18, tied to the moon card. And here is the original spelling of Lucifer. Hyll. And there it is, it's 39, and it's also tied to the moon, but it's tied to the sun. So I believe Jesus and Lucifer are the sun and the moon, the yin yang, and that's the Ark of the Covenant, and this is 16, 17, 18, and 19, and this is the foundational piece. This would be the star Sirius, giving birth to the earth, the moon, and the sun. And this is the Trinity. This is our incarnation, reincarnation process. Make no mistake about it. And, you know, Sirius more than likely is going to be tied to the most powerful deity called Lord Shiva. Shiva the Destroyer. Secret Destroyer, Shiva the Destroyer. Do you see the sinks there? Shiva was the most powerful. It's got the trident representing Neptune. Neptune's the god of water. We live underwater, I believe anyway, but nonetheless, we're made up of water. We're at maritime law for a reason, but you can't miss this when you synchronize it all. When you go into the string of pi, 16 appears at the 40th decimal digit of pi, 40 and 41. That's 81. 81 is keyhole, but there is the 40 of death and regeneration tied to zirconium. And once again, when you go to numberempire.com and that number 40, you're going to see that the number 173, which is an anagram of the 137, is the 40th prime number. So the 173 is just a jumbled number of the 137, which is the 33rd prime. This is the number of light. And you have this tied to that, ladies and gentlemen. This is tied to that, the ending point or the beginning point, so to speak. And this could be the red shift, blue shift. Sirius is typically known as the blue star. And so here's the last piece on Sirius, and the boss is boss. And whether or not you want to believe in this or not, That's completely up to you. Again, making the truth your own, but there's the Vesica Piscis and the two circles, and there's the flower life and all that. And there's nothing demonic about it. Some people I know are saying the flower life is all demonic and this and that. I don't know how they're coming up with these conclusions. But you see, when you can scrape away everything, just go to straight basics. If this is the way Sirius is in with a binary, and Sirius, there's Sirius A and Sirius B, but if this is the way it works, you have the great year in there and astrology's in there, and, we still are unsure of a lot of things, but I personally feel Sirius is the boss of the boss. So our boss is the sun, and the boss of the sun is Sirius, and I feel that this sun being the devil only has a short period of time, and the timer's soon going to be up, and then we'll have some great change upon us. So before I ask you what you saw, I wanted to give you a little bit of a bonus, and I was supposed to include this in the beginning of the presentation. I had to stop and add it in, but it was on the beginning of this presentation with the song, The Number of the Beast. And this should, again, solidify. If you had any doubts about our reality being scripted and mankind being used, this should put the nail in the coffin for you. And again, I feel man is a puppet on strings. The movie The Godfather, I have that coming out, folks. It's just funny. And the architect's tied to the sun, and the devil tied to the sun. And there's no separation of that. But let me show you a few slides before I ask you what you saw on the number of the beast and where the song came from and why it's so relevant and how I can show you that man's being used. Here's the guy who wrote the song, The Number of the Beast, Stephen Piercy Harris, this guy right here. And I pulled it. When you go look at his bio, this is the picture they're going to give you, and look at what's on his chest. Let me just zoom in on that. I mean, this guy probably knows what's up. I mean, there's the all-seeing eye. This is inside our brains, by the way. This is undeniable, by the way. And so, the all-seeing eye with the pyramid and all that stuff, just scrape away all the dogma and the propaganda. And, there's so much heavy negative energy on it. But when you get rid of all that negative energy, you realize that it has a lot of facts involved in our lives. And it's not demonic or satanic or, any of that kind of mumbo jumbo. But clearly this guy was being used to deliver the song, The Number of the Beast. And Stephen Piercy Harris, he was born on March 12th, 1956. Of course, the subtleties, 56 is tied to the 137 from barium. I showed that earlier. His birthday is a 33 because 1 + 2 is 3, and March is the third month. That's 33. But his birth card, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't need any introductions because it's been throughout this entire presentation. It's part of the loop. It's part of the time loop that we're stuck in, I feel. It's the 1937-46 loop, and this is the Jack Diamonds card representing us being down here as Jack or Jill in the box. And this guy's birth card, March 12th, let me be really transparent on that, show you here. Here is the month of March going down to the 12th. There it is, the Jack Diamonds card. Of all cards, of course, and if it's, as fate would have it, it's the Jack Diamonds card. Him writing about the sun, tied directly to the sun, and the number of the beast, which is the sun. And of course, down here in the so below, it's carbon, 666, and we're made up of carbon. We are the beast in the so below. So we're all little devils running down here. His name through numerology is the number 68, and the 68th element is called erbium. It has several atomic weights. One of them is the number 166, which is the ruler of the 66, the 166, but it's tied to the tetragrammaton, again, what the Greeks coined the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, and that's why the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, you'll see this symbol in the ancient text because it is known as the all-seeing eye, the pyramid, and it's the Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh, period. And it's Lucifer and Jesus and Thomas and all, they're all fit in there. It's tied to Yaldabaoth, they're all in there. But I mean, folks, you see the syncs and why this reality could never have been scripted by man, ever, when we use all these separate layers. Keep going. Again, I showed this March 12th is 33, but it's not just the 33 when you break it down. It's the freaking 71st day of the year. And 71 is tied to the element lutetium. And again, what's the 174? It's the sun. And this is the Lu for a reason. Lucy, lutetium. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy's the sun, ladies and gentlemen. Lucy is the sun. And the diamonds are the constellations, the 88 constellations that wrap around the sky. And the zodiac is, of course, involved with that. 88 keys on a piano tied to the 88 constellations. Folks, scrape away all the dogma bullshit programming that you were taught in Sunday school or at a church, or some pastor tried to interpret and tell you this and that. Scrape all that away, folks, because what you're seeing is, this is the real truth right here. And it's undeniable. This guy, being used to write the song, The Number of the Beast. And again, there's the March 12th. March is the third month. 1 + 2 is 3, and that's the 33. So this guy was born. He was designed to come out with this song, The Number of the Beast. I think this is my last slide. It is. And I'm going to end it on a good note to really put an anchor in all this, to solidify this presentation, to ensure that you realize these are my opinions and truths. Make the truth your own. But clearly, if you're a fan of numerology, numbers are part of everything. They're in the Bible. There's chapters and verses. Those are numbers. It's inescapable. You can't just use it and say, oh, well, you can't use it for this because it's demonic. That's all BS. Numerology is the science of numbers. That's all it is. And the number of the beast is the number 82 in its totality. 82 is tied to the demiurge, because the demiurge equals the number 82. What's the demiurge, ladies and gentlemen? It's the sun. It's Jesus and Thomas, Jesus and Lucifer. Demi meaning two, the ruler of this reality, the architect. And, number, the two words are number and beast. The and of, those are filler words, but number and beast are the two big words. And number is 24. 24 is tied to our X chromosomes, tied to the 51. Chromium comes from the word chroma. It means color. We are light beings slowed down into physical matter. We come from the color made by the sun, rainbow. That's by water and the sun. That's the sun and the moon. Chromium. 51 is its most abundant weight. 51's tied again to antimony, the all-seeing eye. Okay, we are just a number. And then the beast, of course, is the number 15, tied to the devil card. But of course, it's tied to the element phosphorus, and that's what the Greeks coined Lucifer, phosphorus. So of course, it's why it's tied to the devil card. But phosphorus has a weight of 30. 30 is the demiurge. The word Jehovah equals 30. So you can clearly see when you kind of synchronize everything together, folks, they're all in bed together. There's really no separation. They're all going to lead to the same origins. But make no mistake about it, mankind is being used to fulfill the script. And that's just the way it is. So thank you for sticking with me on this long presentation, one of my longer ones. But I feel this information was very, very important to come out with. As I continue to decode, they just get more acute, more narrowed down with truth. And then you can realize that, there is no good or bad. It's just our thinking that makes it so. Everything has a purpose here in duality. Obviously, if you work for the superhero, then do that. If you resonate with that, then do that. Some people came here to do other things the opposite of that. They're just doing their job, and it's not our job to judge them. All our job is to express our code, and that is the most important thing that each and every one of us can do, and most people have never done that. They don't even know why they're here. They just were taught by their mom and dads that did the best they could if they had good parents. But your true code is from the stars, the rule of the architect, the sun, the moon, the constellations. That's why astrology is so accurate. Numerology, personality types, Enneagram, human design, all these layers are all an integral part of who we are and why we're here. Know your code, know your script, and have the best experience in life. So what is it you saw during this presentation? I'd love to hear your comments, your feedback. I'd love to hear all what you have to say. Keep them coming. That's pretty much all I got for today, folks. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality, and I thank each and every one of you for your donations, your Patreons, if you want a reading, hit me up, decodeyourreality@gmail.com. Appreciate each and every one of you. But until next time, we will see you later.